Okay, so let's get right into it. This 79th group situation, it's a big one, and it's all over the news these days. Arrests, fraud investigations. It's a real mess for anyone who invested with them. So we're gonna break it down, figure out what happened, and try to make sense of it all for you.
Yeah, it's a worrying situation for sure.
Yeah.
Potentially very large scale fraud. And the fact that 79th Group was pushing these things called loan notes. Well, we'll get into that, but they've become a bit of a tool for, well, let's just say some financial trickery, shall we?
Right, and if you're listening to this thinking, wait, loan notes, what are those? Don't worry, we'll explain everything. But first, let's paint a picture of this 79th group. They presented themselves as this diversified asset management company involved in everything, real estate, aviation, you name it. They had this whole family-run image led by David Webster and his sons Jake and Curtis, along with their CEO, Natalie Bellis.
And that family business image, that can be very powerful. It
Yeah.
creates a sense of trust stability, especially for people who might not be, super experienced investors.
Exactly. But now that image is really starting to crumble as this investigation unfolds. And one of the key things here is how 79th Group was using these loan notes. Our sources at Insolvency Law, they've actually had 79th Group on their radar for years because of concerns about their business practices.
Well, you see, loan notes aren't inherently bad in themselves. They're basically a type of debt that a company uses to raise capital. Think of it like a fancy IOU. But the problem is they're not as tightly regulated as other types of investments, which makes them, well, let's just say ripe for misuse.
So someone could end up buying a loan note thinking it's a safe and secure investment when it's actually anything but.
Exactly. And that's how some companies can structure these loan notes in ways that are, well, incredibly misleading. They might promise these huge returns, way too high, or just hide the real risks. It's a bit like selling a used car without mentioning the engine's about to fall out.
And it seems like that lack of transparency was a recurring theme with 79th Group. One of the biggest red flags was that there were no audited accounts from any of their companies. You'd think a company handling millions of pounds of investor money would want to show their financial health, right?
You would think so. Legitimate businesses usually see audits as a way to build trust. They want to show everything's above board. So when a company consistently avoids audits, it's like, what are they hiding?
Right. It's a huge warning sign. To make matters worse, 79th Group had these security trustees in place supposedly to protect investors, but some of them were based overseas, so it's even harder to track where the money went.
That's so important. Security trustees are supposed to act as a safeguard, right? Making sure the assets backing these investments are actually secure. But if they're based in some far-flung place with weak regulations, how effective are they really? It's like having a watchdog that's asleep on the job.
And get the 79th Group, they were operating this whole network of newly formed companies, most of which hadn't been audited either. It starts to feel like a deliberate attempt to create confusion and make it impossible to follow the money.
It definitely raises suspicions.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the latest accounts from 79th Luxury Living Limited, one of their subsidiaries, it gets even more interesting. They reported advancing over 31 million pounds to other companies within the group, and get this, receiving over 36 million pounds in advances from related overseas firms linked to the Webster family.
So money was basically sloshing back and forth between all these different entities. It's like a financial shell game.
Exactly. And that level of complexity is often intentional. To hide financial irregularities, make it harder for investigators to untangle the truth.
And speaking of investigators, things have been heating up. There were those dramatic arrests in Merseyside. 4 individuals taken into custody. Authorities seized weapons, cash, luxury watches. It sounds like a movie.
Yeah, the presence of those items, that definitely adds another layer to all of this. It's a reminder that financial fraud can be tied up with other criminal activities.
Mm-hmm.
And while those arrested have been released on bail pending further investigation,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that these raids happened, it speaks volumes about how serious these allegations are.
Absolutely.